Okay, so we have 3 hours, 45 minutes till dusk. How much money do we have left after this quest now? 7 dragon bones. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I kind of don't want to just, waste the rest of the day. Do we think we can get anywhere on this road? I don't really want to go. Oh, it'd be too late to explore an unfamiliar area. Interesting, it won't let you go out at night. Let's try and make our way to the west a little bit. We might have to just dart back again, but I'd rather do, something. Alright. Oh, we can't even do it because I can't wait for 2 hours. Well, zoot. Let's see what's... Do I want to go up? I'm slightly worried about going to the north. Because I don't know if that will start leading to this, central path that cuts through the peninsula. Which has been, I've been warned many times is extremely dangerous. Okay. We're just scouting right now. We're going to sleep here. So I can rent a room out again. It will give me some good appearance score. Will give me some food score. It will cost me 2 dragon bones, but... Or maybe I do just go for the Mouflon pelt now. No, while we're in a village, let's live, a little bit luxurious. I want to be in tip-top condition. Like most people, you wake in the middle of almost every night. Before your second sleep comes, you spend an hour or 2 taking care of your belongings, shell and soul. Some people spend this time with their friends, families or lovers, but your routine is different. If you don't have to take care of essential tasks, I can stretch my muscles a little bit, spend some time outside observing stars and listening to the wild creatures, check on Shadowmane. It's a good time to brush and make sure it has everything it needs. It's the best time to pray and think about my dreams, or I just stay where I am, trying to ease my soul and focus on my breathing. I feel anxious during this time. By the way, I had a little look off camera. I'm not even on camera, but, off, whatever you want to call it. And in the journal, there's a glossary about these fogs, and it actually explains what they are in the glossary. I probably should have gone through this actually very early on, but the fogs are actually a fog. It is a phenomenon. They carry pneuma, and if it touches a dead human shell, it will awaken it. I think there was something else saying like the majority of them occur in August. So... we have to be a bit careful of the seasons and if that comes to it. Also powers up spellcaster, so be aware of that. Anyway, I'm going to check in on Shadowmane. Look after them. This might cost me a little bit of rest or something, I'm not sure. You spend the night in peace in a clean bed with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning you find a stool placed by your bed covered with an eggplant soup, a bowl of pears, and some crumbly biscuits. Once you get dressed and go downstairs, a young boy who's covered in mud and speaks unusually loud and enthusiastically mentions that Shadowmane has already been brushed and watered. You nod. Shadowmane's already been brushed and watered! But he runs outside without noticing it. The innkeeper is sitting near the door, from time to time carrying out another bowl, with either stew or gruel. Thace is nowhere to be seen again. Oh, the trader's also not around right now. Okay, honestly, I want to do some travelling. I want to make a dent into this western path. Oh, we can also offer our services to the guards. This took a while last time, but I do like making a little bit of money. What are you offering? Securing the fields. An edge of the local fields was destroyed by some beasts. You'll stay in the saddle helping the guards and workers oversee the area while they're going to place a new fence. The task will take you about half a day and may get dangerous. No, I want to travel. I don't want to do something too risky. And more importantly, something that takes half a day, that's too long. Okay, now I should be able to cut through here, right? Yeah, the plants get denser with every day. We should be done in 2 hours or two. Get your axe out. Your muscles, not used to such tiring work, grow tired quickly, so you take a few short breaks, avoiding the thorns and dirty water. When it comes to pushing aside the buffs? Boughs? I don't know this word. You breathe heavily, but you need only enough space to let your palfrey get through. Maybe the animals will start to roam this place again, beating the path. You reach a convenient mountain pass, with crags smoothed out by centuries of rain and wind. The sun warms up both the vegetation and beaten roads, and the only beasts you spot are loud rooks, glancing at you from the rocks and branches. Clearing the rock slide would take hours of work in a large group of people, while forcing Shadowmane to climb up and down could break its legs. I dismount and look around. You climb up the rocks, having plenty of spots to rest your hands. Most of them won't even move an inch. As you get close to a small dead tree, you notice something odd amongst the stones. Pieces of old fabric, completely covered with mould, most likely the remains of a tunic. Oh, there's nothing I can do here. Okay. The rock slide. Okay, well, let's go over to this way then, north of the village. The road is beaten free of litter. You notice paths between the fruit-bearing trees on your right, and soon after that you ride alongside vast fields of broad beans, almost ready for the second harvest of the summer. Then there are the green hemp plants, taller than you are, waiting for a scythe or sickle. The locals keep the beasts at a distance, I guess. Okay, another crossroads. The hooves thump loudly on the beaten track. The green bushes, shrubs and trees prove that the soil here is fertile. Yet the plants don't overgrow the road. These crossroads must be busy at times, maybe even patrolled. In the distant west, you see the mountain peaks dividing the lowlands from the ocean. The road to the east leads towards the hills, behind which there are unusually tall, dark trees. There's a dense forest in the north from which you can hear the croaking of toads. The last path is already known to you. You're surrounded by 4 signposts, all of which seem to be made from the same type of wood, now covered in moss and fungi, yet the pictures and letters that cover the nailed boards are nothing alike. Okay, let me look at the west signpost first. It has 2 planks attached to a single post, both of them nailed with a rusty steel. The lower sign is divided into 2 halves. The left edge is engraved with 4 simple shapes, squares with hoof-like lines hanging above them. The other edge bears 2 engraved piles, one of them made of horizontal rectangles, the other of inexact circles. The letters behind those 2 piles say stone. The upper plank is covered with a white word, monastery. Though it's divided in half, right below it is an engraved vertical rectangle with an hourglass inside of it. Now, I was told there was a monastery, but I had this in the centre, not to the west. But maybe I am wrong. That would not be the first time. Let me look at the northern signpost. It's attached with nails made of pointy carved bones, and divided into 3 sections covered with small engravings. The part on the left has 3 large squares with roof-like lines hanging above them. No other pictures or words. The one in the middle has only 1 square, but also a simple horizontal symbol of a fish and a short word beneath. It spells salt. The image on the right has 2 roof squares, but also 2 other images which you recognise easily. A deer and a standing barrel. And we might as well look at the eastern one. The long plank attached with rusted iron nails is almost empty. It bears no words, only a single picture painted with great care. It portrays a city-like gate, with a watchtower to its left and right, and a couple of small conifers growing beside, and partially behind the towers. I search the area. The thicket doesn't help. You notice the remains of berries and pears, but most of them are already rotting, spread close to the wooden stools at the side of the road. The nearby creek is not impressively deep, but the beaver dam, for some reason, is taller than you are, makes it wide and waters the surrounding soil. A few steps away from the southern signpost, you find something sticking out of a shrub. It's a moist plant covered by fungi. You try to move it with a stick and gloved hand. After a minute or two, you confirm it's an abandoned sign, covered with green letters and colourful pictures of flowers and trees. Steep house, you read with great difficulty. Where was this sign attached? The southern post is the only one with holes left by nails. Let me take another look at the destroyed sign. Okay. Well, I think we have to make a decision here. Part of me wants to head to the west. So what was the west sign? So it was a monastery. And the hourglass is going to be the... what were they called? The Church of the Faith or something? Where are you? The United Church. That's the one. Which I'm not exactly, you know, hugely fond of, I guess. Then... Gale Rocks, large fishing village near the northern shore. Maybe this takes me to Gale Rocks, but how the hell do I get to Old Pagos then? A western village settled on barren soil. Oh, maybe that is Old Pagos that way then. I don't really have a reason to go there right now, but I do have in my note that Old Pagos links to a monastery. I'm trying to get to the White Marshes right now is the way I'm going. I think we go down the northern path. I think that's the one I understand the most. Some parts of the road lead uphill, some downhill. The forests are lush but not too dark. The few foraging deer and boars keep their distance, and the birds are disinterested in your presence, singing cheerfully and preening their feathers. Sounds of an ongoing hunt reach you from the east, but none of the nearby creatures seem bothered. Once you get farther north, the colourful meadow reveals tall hills on the other side of the stream. But the road leads through a valley. There's a gentle smoke coming from the mountains in the west. It doesn't look like the place on fire. Maybe there's a settlement in the mountains. Okay, is this Old Pagos? Or is it Gale Rocks? The road leads to a gentle creek, filled with the buzzing of flies, mosquitoes, and gnats. You don't spot any critters amongst the tall meadows, tree branches, or rocky slopes. Seeing the shapeless dark vortex of wings, Shadowmane snorts. We're currently on the southern bank. With access to an alchemy table, I could make a protective ointment against the bites, but we clearly don't have an alchemy table. We can look for a different route. I can ride forward with a blazing torch, or it'll take some time, but I'll wrap myself with every piece of clothing I own. You know what? Wrap yourself in all clothing. I want to keep on this pathway. I'm a little bit worried about Shadowmane, but I'm going to risk it. It takes you longer than you would hope for, but you manage to cover yourself with an armour of at least 3 layers of linen, leather, wool, and hemp. Only your eyes and a single finger remain without cover. Once you get close to the fort, countless creatures beset you, making you instantly shut your eyes. They are striking the clothes, covering your open mouth, and hitting your shell like a squishy, buzzing hail. You ride forward blindly, trying to get out of there as fast as you can, but the insects stick with you for another few minutes. The red marks on your fingers start to burn slowly. Shadowmane swishes its tail angrily as it turns its head to its left, observing you with one reproachful eye, pinning its ears back. You look around to make sure nothing tries to jump on you, and once you decide you're safe, you take off the suit. Unless you find an easy way to protect yourself, the insects will keep slowing you down. And at least I kept my blood. Okay. Sorry, Shadowmane. I'll try and look after you in the next settlement. For most of the time you're surrounded by yellow meadows. The trees on your left get sparser, while the few lonely birches on your right still bear the signs of tapping, marked with knife cuts, tied with cords. Some of them still carry wooden vessels, as if they were simply abandoned, maybe last spring, maybe before that. A few of the trees are already dried out, and the winds manage to knock them down. As you get close to the crossroads, the ground gets muddy. The beaten path avoids the wetland as much as it can. The screeches and hisses mix with the buzzing of insects, and as you reach a small pond, there are signs of blood on its bank. The air is moist and heavy, and has a hint of rotting meat about it. It may still be early, but it's better to avoid the bogs when nighttime approaches, but places rarely have fine roads. Bogs are darker than forests. The local creatures start their hunt even an hour earlier. Okay. Understood. The trees and bushes are sparse here, growing from the barren grassland. Some of them bear late summer fruits. Thank you. A group of wayfarers is spread around the broken signposts and the abandoned cart. They're skinny but healthy, and are standing upright. They're wearing humble, dim gambesons on top of their hemp tunic and pants. All of them worn. In some cases undyed. In others, dark green or brown. 4 of these individuals wear cloaks and are armed with spears, bows, and stone maces. On their necks, wrists, and belts, you spot small talismans, fangs, bones, wooden beads, leather straps. There's also a 5th figure standing a bit in the back, with lowered shoulders. Unlike the others, they're hooded, and in such a manner that you doubt they can see anything other than its boots. Their clothes are shabby, torn, but your eyes mostly run to their club. A bow as long as its owner is tall and thick as its leg. Resting with one end on the ground, you get closer, and the person raises the weapon with just one arm. But another traveller gestures for them to stop, and they do so right away, freezing in place. I'm going to stay in the saddle just in case. The man behind the gesture doesn't approach you, just nods. Safe travels, stranger. To may be still time before the even fall. But bogs aren't safe. Better keep moving, you'll find they're in. You try to digest his thick accent. He's broad-shouldered and with a large belly, but the scars on his face sculpt an image of someone who earned their share of food with many skirmishes. He doesn't reach for his weapon and pushes one of his companions close to the cart. She kneels by an empty box and looks inside it. The man observes you with a little curiosity. I don't think we threaten. I was considering it. This is the first time I've considered it. Because maybe they would respect one who's, a little bit rough, a little bit tough. But large man with giant mace does concern me. Possibly some sort of monstrosity is going to be my guess. Since, he's fully cloaked up. I don't think we play vulnerable, they'll take advantage of it. I think distance, again, is pretty safe here. I don't think I want to be playful either. Greetings. He gives you a slighter, deeper nod this time, then looks at his companions who simply shrug and spread to take a look at the cart. All of them but the one with the bow, who doesn't move an inch. I kinda say I've time to loaf. Your questions, ask, but be quick. Don't put us to sleep. I look at the person with a hood. No. I just want to clear the way. I'm leaving. Is this your cart? In a way, my neighbour's. You then hear one of the women proudly claiming that it belongs to her uncle, but the man doesn't allow you to dig into the topic. We used to carry wooden plants from here to the village, but at one time there was not a thing to carry, and 'twas left for another day. Just trash now. What makes this place so special? He sighs. It used to be a forest garden. My great-grandparents started it to harvest various fruits and sap from birches. But those were the other days, and other roads. There's nothing for value left, and no time or strong folks to take care of the lands. Okay. Are you from around here? Very much so. and you're new to these roads. You know our home. Not a clue. Actually, maybe. Are you from the White Marshes? White Marshes. He straightens up. True, 'tis there. He looks at the crossroad leading to the east. I thought 'tis already forgotten, but you've a clean air. Okay, how can I reach the White Marshes? Just not so hard. If you have bones or food with you, ride down the road, turn left, and take a gift to Pharaohus, the warden of our peat fields. He'll open the creepers for you. Seeing you look, he carries on. They're on the right path, one that'll take you to the village. So ride down the road, turn left, take a gift to Pharaohus. Okay. He'll open the creepers for you. Seeing your look, he carries on. They're on the right path. Okay. Anything dangerous between here and there? Water hides Saurians. Don't let your horse drink. Just stay on the road all the time. One of the women chips in. And don't follow voices or lights. Weird beasts lure humans into death. And don't touch the creepers. Okay. He then stretches out and gets close to the signpost, using his spear as a walking stick. Well, stay safe, stranger. He raises his voice and addresses his companions. We wasted too much time to froth. Time to get back. The others prepare their own weapons and join their guide. The one with the bow stays silent until a gentle gesture commands them to follow. They keep up with the rest of the group, dragging the club behind with remarkable strength. They're undead, aren't they? After a few more days, there may be fruit and other plants to pick here, and we prepare for the journey. Oh, so it said go left, right? That's what this crossroad is? You leave the wetlands behind. The pebbled road runs through the hillside, with tall grass and rock faces above you, and dark lush forest below. Chunks of this path were shaped by human tools. Who knows how many centuries ago? To widen it, the builders dug through the uneven boulders and used rocks and logs to fill up the cavities with thousands of rocks, each one smaller than your fist. While you have a good view of what's happening between the trees on your right, the bushes and shrubs grow so densely between them that you can't imagine entering these woods on your own. Farther south, there are plumes of smoke. Settlement, probably. At the top of the hill, you reach a stone wall, a quiet place with no smoke coming from behind it. You look inside and see the glimpse of a peaceful ruin. While the main road is beaten and easy for the hooves, the destroyed gate and the remains of the front yard are almost reclaimed by the short grasses. You seek any suspicious movement, but the place seems to be free of inhabitants larger than a falcon. The air is fresh, the wind shakes the tree crowns gently. Something tells me that I'm not at the White Marshes right now. He said go left, right? I'm not misremembering. Yeah, right down the road, turn left. So maybe it is through here. I don't like this. The hamlet could be a hunter's shelter, a military outpost, a storage for traders, but you spot no fresh human trails. The damaged door and gate are years old, soggy and mouldy, and judging by the squirrels, birds, and animal feces you see in the grass, this place is but a part of the wilderness. The roof collapsed only a few years back, turning into food for mushrooms. The outer wall looks generations old, but it used to be maintained. Some of its materials came from different times and areas. Oh, get back to Shadowmane. Shadowmane, we're carrying on. You're squeezed between the hills and the forests. How long before those 7 hours? The only larger beast you spot is a single saurian basking on a boulder, lazily observing you from a safe distance. Your ears catch the howls coming from the north, long and loud, and as you keep an eye on the rock ledges, you almost miss the drastic shift in the landscape. The forest turns into a lake, and the few plants growing next to the road mostly bear fruit. The road is not as reliable here as it was in the hills. Parts are a bit muddy, and the puddles disturb your ride. And maybe the locals will maintain it before it gets swallowed by the lake. The deep, loud yells of howlers are piercing your ears, concealing any other sound in the area. They're sitting on branches and in the tall grass, not really trying to hide. Their thick black and gold furs cover their entire shells, aside from the charcoal black faces, with roundish, flat noses and wide nostrils. The younger members of the pack are about the size of your mount's head, but the large ones would be chest high, if it wasn't for the fact that they walk on all fours. Their long tails are like an additional arm, helping them climb, hang from branches, or hold food while they eat. They aren't particularly muscular, but when they form their pink lips in the shape of a cup to release their howls, their mouths are so wide you could fit your entire arm inside. As you listen to the shouts, you're reaching for your head. You feel a weird itch, but somehow you can't touch it. Keep my distance, I take a look at the skin behind the boulder. The whitish rawhide covers the grass like a blanket. Surrounded by paw prints, the howlers don't wait for you to approach it. One of the larger ones jumps on the ground, leaning on its hands and challenging you with its gaze. It has rather blunt teeth. Did I misread this, by the way? Reaching for your head, you feel a weird itch. And you find a skin behind a boulder. It would be a decent spot for a fish trap if I had one. Too bad I have nothing to pluck my ears with, yeah. I've never taken one of these dice roll options. You know what? I think we can do a nab and run. I think we can just make a run for it. You stretch out your legs and then dash ahead. At first the monkeys move away with a few unconvinced yells, but then those from above start to howl, even deeper than before, and you feel if your guts are starting to move, hitting against each other. You get dizzy and soon the pain enters your skull, as if you're getting hit by a smith's hammer, time and time again. Yet you manage to stay calm and focused on your goal. The larger creatures try to cut your path, but being on the ground, they can't keep up with your legs. Without stopping, you grab the rawhide, then carry on, waiting for a few heartbeats before you change direction rapidly, now getting close to the Shadowmane. By the time you reach the saddle, the beasts have already abandoned their pursuit. You take a few deep breaths and inspect the rawhide. The wet torn blanket is now worth as much as a bread crust. Still, it's not rotten. If the owner is round, they may recognise it. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry, that's just my tray. I thought I had some extra knowledge. Okay, can I just move on now? I don't need to scare them away. The lakeside is filled with the chirping cicadas and crickets, as well as roaring beasts from the northern hills. Farther down the road you see yellow, tall grasses, interwoven with flowers and bumblebees, while the peaceful water shines just as much as the wings of dragonflies. This road is often travelled, and the clatter of hooves carries far. Thanks to the vast field of view, the creatures hiding in the meadows are unlikely to jump on an animal as large as Shadowmane. In the distance, you see a palisade and a large building set on the side of a crossroad. Once you get closer, you hear a conversation from behind the wall. Two men are arguing about if they really just heard a horse. Maybe they know some useful rumours. There's no signpost anywhere nearby, so I better ask for directions. I'm a little bit worried that these guys are bandits. I also feel like I've missed the marches. Oh well, I have to deal with this now. They might know some useful rumours. Shadowmane carries you towards the open gate on its own, welcoming an opportunity to rest by pushing out the air loudly through its nostrils. A nearby wooden pen won't offer much space for a horse, but should be enough for grazing and a nap. As you dismount, two men get up from the front stairs. Their clean-shaven faces reveal that they're in their early 20s. The first one is taller than you, broad-shouldered, and wears light brown pants and a darker jacket. Both of them made of leather. With an inviting smile, he gets up and moves to open the enclosure. His steps are heavy and slow, but every movement is marked with carefulness, assuring he won't knock anything down or anyone. The second man looks as different from his colleague as the sun and the moon. He's unusually short and wears a heavy cloak made of black fur, so large it could cover his entire shell. He opens the door of the building, hides his hand and peeks into the room. "Foggy!" His voice is shrill and unconcerned. "A messenger come!" I take off some of my bundles, let my horse rest. The hanging barrel sways in the wind, marking the place as an inn or tavern. The building resembles a merchant's house from Hovleven, whitewashed with oiled, elegant wooden beams. The fragile walls are high enough to avoid floods and snow, but you have no doubt that a troll, or even a pebbler, could easily break through them. The palisade is short, has hardly any support, and has no walkway for crossbowmen, hardly enough even for a makeshift hamlet. Yet, it's the open harbour that makes you feel uneasy. Aside from the fish, any creature, aquatic or not, could just walk into the yard undisturbed. The path is covered with paw prints and claw marks. We should not leave Shadowmane out at night. A black and white bird swoops into the water, then flaps its wings and takes off with a silver, twitching creature in its talons. The large man clears his throat. "And what have we here? Coming from afar, friend. Are there now horses and howlers?" His voice is stentorian, close to a shout. You recognise vaguely his accent from the city harbour. Okay. Let's be friendly. "Quite far, kind soul. Shadowmane came with me from Hovleven." He nods appreciatively. "A weird beast, aye. A donkey that can kill a man." You notice he keeps quite a distance from it, and holds his hands close to his throwing club. "Haven't seen one in a while. The roads here aren't that bad. They'll take you north and east with ease." You hear heavy footsteps. A woman shows up in the door and looks at you from the top of the stairs. She's even more towering and stout than her son. The man who just welcomed you, with a massive chest and a pear-shaped face with a prominent chin. Her movements are composed and confident. She may be older than 50, with a mixture of grey and dark blonde hair. She has only one arm, the left one, notably muscular, and with a hand so large it could likely chop off Shadowmane's head with a single strike, or crush yours like a berry. Through the slit of her robe, made of creamy wool and fur, you spot her trunk-like legs. She runs her eyes over your blade, armour and mount, her lips form into something of a smile, distorted by the scar that runs through her mouth. The tall guy looks like her a lot. The tall man spreads his arms, forming a chain between you and his mother. "Meet Foggy, friend. Ma. The rider has come to us from Hovleven. Just look at the horse." His powerful voice turns timid, and he keeps turning his head from left to right and back. "Too bad we have no hay. He looks hungry." The woman looks at him with amusement and glances at your palfrey. "Aye, a cute monster you've brought, but not enough fat on it. If it ever breaks a leg, bring it here. We'll smoke it for winter." She stretches out her only hand vaguely. "What brings you to Foggy Lake? Love? Just stopping by?" Her voice is hoarse, like that of a traveller who spent too many autumn nights in cold tents, yet carries a hint of motherly concern. I close the animal pen behind me and head towards the stairs. You won't find another shelter in this part of the Dragonwoods, especially not in creeks. She scratches her broad chin with her sausage-like fingers. "You drink?" I'm going to keep distance right now. I'm a little bit unsure about this. I nod from time to time. "And I'd say this is the very right time." Her shouting enthusiasm makes your mount snort. "Come, dear, share a story with me in a mug. Without waiting for your response, she walks inside. The tall man takes a deep breath. Go ahead, we'll take care of your horse. Oh, I don't like this anymore. He encourages you with a gesture, and by that he means he won't do anything with it. Adds the man in black fur. Sorry, I get what he means now. So you won't do anything with it, adds the man in black fur. Whenever his screechy words follow the deep voices of his companions, he sounds like a brat. We're not feeding or washing beasts that we won't put in a stew, but we'll keep an eye on it. They find new spots to rest, the side of a boat, and a stool near the palisade. Right, I guess we go upstairs. The narrow, segmented window shutters let in a lot of light, without letting the beasts inside. The air is humid but carries not a hint of putridity. The heels of Foggy's boots make her steps thunder, even though the planks don't creak. Make yourself at home, she says without looking at you. Heading to the trap door in the corner. I'll just grab a little something. Your ears catch the screeches of hunting birds, and the wind that leaks through the windows. But other than that, the room is quiet. We can investigate the main hall. We can check the basement. I can look where the ladder leads, or I can sit down at the table and wait for the innkeepers to return. So, I feel like the basement is just too much. I feel like the main hall is pretty safe. I think sitting down at the table is ultra safe. But looking down the ladder is slightly tempting. If we get caught in the act, that's going to create a little bit of hostility, but I'd like to have a little peek. You climb up the simple rope ladder and reach the attic. It smells like a haystack. The floor is covered with animal furs, bags and clothes. There's a soul sitting in a corner, a bearded man in his 20s who has only got his right hand. Though unlike the tavern keeper, he was kept the rest of his arm. His sleepy eyes observe you without a word. After he greets you with a nod, he starts to put on his boots. Oh, I'm concerned. Oh, I see by the picture now, sorry. I thought we were looking down into the basement. I didn't know it was climbing up to another, not exactly floor, but just area. Okay, I've changed my mind. I actually do want to look at the basement now. The meagre light hinders your view. There are dozens of barrels, sacks, stone tools, bowls, and pieces of roasted fish or bird meat. Foggy notices you but doesn't say anything. She looks for something among the bunch of bottles. There's a couple more animal trophies placed on top of the barrels and leaning against the walls. Fangs, claws, monster heads, and a lizard skin. Quite a collection. Investigating the main hall. The room is crammed with stuff. The bear pelt on the ground would be a nice resting spot, but the place doesn't look like a real home. No chests, no cabinets for clothes, no toys or tools for simple crafts that would fill the time during rainy evenings. Living with so many windows in winter would be a struggle. One could clear this place in one morning and move all that's worth saving onto a single wagon. The only things of exceptional value are the cauldron, made of pricey steel, and the hanging head of an insect-like monster. Its mandibles don't move, the dim eyes seem intact, and its armoured head tells a long story of survival through scratches and cuts. Alright, we have to wait for the innkeeper now. You take a glance at the blood on the table, the scattered yellow feathers, and a bowl of guts and talons. You find yourself a clean stool. Foggy shows up soon, smiling, holding 2 cups in her hand. A bottle in her fingers, and a cloth under her shoulder. She puts everything on a stool and wipes the table clean. Forgive the mess. Just a part of the job, she explains without a hint of apology. I'd rather dress birds in the yard, but the blood lures beasts. Sometimes the folk from the creeks bring us meals, but we need to take care of ourselves. She throws the bloody cloth back into the bucket, making a splash, then sits down on a stool, making it look like it was made for a doll. She rests her elbow on the table and looks at you in the eyes. Her voice is warm, yet intrusive. So, who am I dealing with? I introduce myself. The bottle removes its sealant seemingly by itself. The wax floats in the air briefly, then lands on the table gently. Without a word, she pours a thick liquid into the cups with her only hand, but doesn't offer you a drink just yet. I don't want to shelter here, honestly. I'm looking for Asterion, the previous Roadwarden. She looks at you for a longer moment, without the slightest movement. And why do you think he's here? I'm not saying that I do, but maybe you know where I can find him? Or is he here? I'm just asking around. I'm going to say I'm not saying that I do, but maybe you know where I can find him. I misunderstood you. She shakes her head and leans on the table. I don't know his whereabouts. He didn't tell me a thing more than I needed to hear. When was the last time you saw him? She glanced at her window, same as the others, in the late days of spring. We were waiting for his return, me and all the villagers, then moved on. I've no idea where he went. You mean all the villagers? Or all the villages, even? She turns toward you with the fierceness of a bear. That's what I said. What can you tell me about him? Or do you have any jobs for you? What can you tell me about him? She rests her only hand across her stomach, which you identify as her version of crossing her arms. A customer, an errand runner. What's there to say? Your additional questions don't get many more answers. She brings up the man's looks and equipment without adding too much to what you already learned from Julia. He was paying with dragons, rarely bartered, she adds. That's what city folk do, aye? Seeking riches and locking themselves in chamber, prisoners of their might. Lie, I frown. That's what I'm aiming for. Or I shrug, I see no problem with that. I'm gonna lie. I don't like the other two options. We'll see, love. We'll see. Did he have any jobs for you? She's pressing her tongue against her cheek and lips. Well, I'm not sure. He was bringing me news or delivering me messages. Sold me some stuff. Sometimes bought a thing or two. His life wasn't really that riveting. Just another mug guzzler sitting in the corner, patching his clothes. Did he tell you anything unusual? She stares at you without blinking. Such as what? Something that hints to where he went. Something he found in an unusual place, or something useful, maybe I could buy it back. Give me a hint as where he went. She frowns. I'll tell you if I think of anything. You don't sound especially bothered by his disappearance. You see me as someone eager to make friends with a vagabond? I'll take it as a compliment to my skills at the tavern keep. Folks come and go, their faces disappear, friends die in my arms. She pauses. Families fade away. There was a different Roadwarden years ago, and there's another one now, but there's only one Foggy in the north, and one Rian. Or Ian. Is that a double L? It's an I, right? I can't tell. I think it's Ilan. And one Ilan that slouched under mine, and one creaks. I have only so many tears to spare. Okay, we'll return to this later, because I think you know more than you're letting on. Maybe. Once our souls will be too restless to stay quiet. But now go ahead, enjoy your drink. You raise the cup to your nose. It smells like flowers, yeast, and hops. Sounds delicious. The liquid is golden on the edges, but resembles red amber in the centre. Ooh, it's a nice ruby ale. It's as thick as a herbal medicament. Okay, maybe it's a barley wine. You take a look at your companion, seeking a hint of what's expected of you. In some places, people gulp down their mead, but your vessel allows you to appreciate the aroma. The huge keeper smiles and takes a sip. You follow her lead. The drink touches your lips. It's warm, hiding none of its subtleties. Drinking mead is never an ending conflict between holding the taste in your mouth and saving yourself from tormenting sweetness of honey. Yet the flavors of flowers are just as present. Too difficult to capture just yet. Foggy leans forward with an elbow resting on the table. Well, for me, it's a lazy day. At least the rain spare us, so nicely holding on to the night. So what brings you to the north? What's the story behind this place? Or, You seem to be into expensive drinks. What's the story behind this place? It's our third summer under the roof of Foggy Lake, but the palisade is older. Used to be a camping spot for the bird catchers from creeks, and there are fish here that don't swim in other streams. When we were but newcomers in the north, these lands were hard to bend, but the beast got used to us with time. A melancholy crawls into her eyes. She observes the meat in a cup. Every year or so, we added something new. The rock for a campfire, some stools, a fence, a firewood shed, a boat. At one point we brought the lumber from White Marshes and built a cabin, like the one in the Eastern Road. More folks were resting here, even traders from Gale Rocks and Old Pagos. A plenty fine spot for an inn, aye. Her smile is warm. I'm building my home from nothing, you could say, and not for the first time. How about you? Does any of it sound tempting? That's the dream, a place far away from Hovleven, somewhere where I can rest after a few days of work without aching back. My home is wherever I can find kind people, or that's something I can ask myself after I've saved a few dragon bones. This is the true answer, but I'm going for the middle one. Because I've already lied and said I'm not in it for the money, but we all know that I am. Home is wherever I can find kind people. She chuckles. You can always find some folks who are somewhat kind some of the time, but all of them have their limits, or bad days. Without a place to return to, you're missing out on souls and their stories. She looks at you in the eyes with motherly concern. Oh, who knows? Maybe you're different. How do you say safe from the beast? You're completely open from the lake. What brought you to the north? You don't like someone who turns their life clean tables, or you like expensive drinks. How do you say safe from the beasts? Quick legs, love. Her brief yet thunderous laughter makes you flinch. We don't leave any food outside, but our cauldron smells. Every now and then something scary shows up. We lock ourselves here for days if we have to. Our windows help us keep an eye on the yard. Better this than leaving the hamlet to goblins. You mentioned that having no wall from the lakeside is quite a risk. She nods in agreement and takes another sip. We don't bring children and old folks around, but this part of the peninsula is not so bad, at least in sunlight. Not much food growing or running around, unless you can live on fish and birds. And the folks of creeks are great hunters, the greatest around. But isn't there a harbour in the city as well? How do you keep the creatures away? They're used to avoiding Hovleven. The guards and sailors make it too dangerous for them. They mostly stay in the water, waiting for trash or drunkards to fall down from a bridge. Every now and then something large shows up between the boats or even enters the streets. People learn to run away and leave it to the soldiers. But from time to time there's casualties. It's actually the flying beast that bothers us. No, the guards and the sailors make it too dangerous for them. See, that's what I hope for. With enough time and crossbows, wars can only get safer. I just have to play it smart and take some risks. So far it's working. Any interesting beasts you hunt for? Oh, I hunt for nothing, she smirks. Not since I lost my arm. And the boys outside are not made for it either. They've no drive to fight, you see, and grew up to be wimps. They sometimes club down a hare, but we're all about foraging and bird traps now. The folks in creeks do the real hunting, she adds after a pause. Runners, mouflons, rats. Sometimes a buffalo or a Asterion. We have no soil for fields, so game meat is all we have left. She stretches out, getting even taller. Do you hunt often? If I'm going to starve, I don't enjoy killing. Sometimes I set up traps I don't risk facing big game. In Hovleven, you won't find much game aside from rats and pigeons. Or I do, making a monster bleed makes me feel alive. In Hovleven, you won't find much game aside from rats and pigeons. It used to be the same in the capital. Kids taught one another how to hit them with rocks, and we still eat those around here. Not much glory in easy kills, but they're better than bark. Let's change the topic. I'm not super interested about her backstory. Clearly she's, gone through a traumatic event. And I imagine she wouldn't really want to choose to be here. She's just sort of ended here. I really don't want to be in here. How long? 5 hours. Let me just have a look here. How long will it take to... Oh my god. We're so far away from Howler's Dell. The marshes must have been down here. The guy sold me a lie. Or maybe he meant... Oh no, he can't have meant it the other way, right? It can't be in the centre, right? That was mountain, it was hilly. Okay. Have you heard anything about the necromancers here in the north? She rubs her chin. I don't like what they're doing one bit, but I can't blame them. The folks at White Marshes struggle, and they don't know how to protect their kids, their elders. Orentius, their priest. Alright. Orentius. I should have wrote down the other name earlier, by the way. Completely forgot. White Marshes. The priest, she cracks her shoulders. A quiet man but preaches like a zealot. Always looks like he's on the verge of crying. She opens the door with a wave of her hand, letting in some fresh air. She looks at the lake. They used to trade in lumber. Those from marshes, until Howler's Dell started selling their own trees for better prices. The trade to marshes died, and so came the hunger. She looked at you with an unclear grimace on her lips. You may judge them, but at least their preacher gave them hope, even if he tied to black magic. Any interesting rumours? She nods. I know this and that. Which place? What can you tell me about... Okay. You know what? I want to know about Old Pagos. You'll do good visiting that place, dear. It may be one of the oldest villages in the north, but even if not, it's safe with strong walls and safe roads. Their crops are weak, but for generations now they've been cutting stone and building for other tribes in exchange for supplies. Some time ago they tied themselves to the monks, and now they don't look too kindly on those who don't follow the orders of truth. She pauses, twisting her lips to one side, choosing her words carefully. But they're plenty fine folks. True believers. Something lost in the city. Not ones to deal in slave trading and pillage. Okay. How about Howler's Den? Just out of interest. Sorry. Oh. You've never heard of Howler's Den? You mentioned it. Oh, it's Dell, isn't it? Not Den. Well, there's a lot to say about Howler's Dell, dear. Her eyes dart around. You have to press her before she says anything of note. It's in the middle of the western road, among the safer lands, and has a large forest garden. Its folk eat and dress well, and have plenty of guards, and the strong spells of their druids. She scratches her knee, measuring her every word. Whatever you do, remember to laugh at the mayor's jokes. Her name's Feis. Don't stay in her way. Her voice is as grim as her eyes serious. You recall your memories of Feis, a thin, smiling woman who likes expensive dresses. Fogs could squash hers in a blink of an eye. Okay. Well, I guess we'd like to know about the White Marshes as well. It's an old village placed among the bogs in the west. Okay, we've missed it then. We have to have missed it. If it's in the west... How did I miss it? It must be this way then. No? Or actually, maybe it was down this right road. Maybe that is westerly of me. Sure. Yeah, so it's in the bogs to the west. Not so far from here, but the roads there lead around the woods. So it takes a good while. She rubs her chin. I'm sure you already know about the Awoken. I don't like what the folks there are doing. Not one bit. But I can't blame them. Yeah, okay, we've heard about Orentius. She opens the door with a wave of her hand, letting in fresh air. Okay, it's basically everything that she's already said. How about Gale Rocks? Not the nicest bunch of fishers, are they? She chuckles, but there's motherly concern in her eyes. Harsh lives give birth to harsh folks, dear. They spend every sunny day on their fishing boats, then cut the sea fish all night long to place them in barrels or hang them from the smokery. They don't have crops, no lumber or iron. The coastal birds and rock squabs their only game meat. It's not too dangerous being a fisher, but all they get comes from trading. Well, you can tell that's not good news. They tried to be their own merchants. Take the wares south, and with every year they need to burn more pyres. She scratches her broad chin. Hard to believe Gale Rocks is as old as it is. And they stick to it no matter how difficult their lives get. Okay, let me talk about Creek. There are many places you could call that, dear. The Creeks. Creeks is my home. It's younger than Illan by over a year. It may be small, but I felt better with the folks there than I ever did at the capital. She takes a big breath. We used to live on wild game, fish and foraged foods. Foraged goods even. And after some years, we chased the larger animals out of the forest. Now our youth learn carpentry. They make barrels, planks, tools. If trade ever comes back here, we'll have things to sell. There used to be only struggle, now there's hope and laughter. We may be poor, but at least it's the last joyful place in the north. Her eyes get gloomy as she reaches for one of the bottles from a shelf. Aye, there were struggles. I'm amongst our oldest. Those who came here with me. She pauses, then puts the bottle away. But now their children have a real home. Right, let me let Millie into the office as she's breaking down the door as we speak. Are you one of the lakeside animals? This is why we have to put up walls, Millie. For beasts like you. The beasts of burden. Okay, I don't think I necessarily want to ask about anything else. Actually, one last thing, sorry. How the hell do you spell this word? It's just that, right? Okay, you've never heard of the monastery, sure. Thanks. What do you have for sale? Now you're talking, she grins. Well, I could serve you some of my cooking, not food rations, mind you. You need what we can save for the winter season. Let's say you give me a dragon, and in return, I'll cook for you 4 times. You just need to ride up when you're hungry, and other than that, you won't take any wood or stone, are you? Seeing you shrug, she waves it off and heads towards the trapdoor. After a minute, she shows up with a sack that climbs every step. I can sell you some scraps. She pulls out a couple of iron clasps, nails, and broken steel blade. A value trash. We found them at while foraging. We don't have a furnace in Creeks, but you could sell these bits for prices for somewhere else. She observes you for a moment and shrugs. Let's discuss the price. Ooh, 5. That's literally all my money. But you know what? I think we could make some money on this. We're doing storage wars now. I've opened up the storage unit and we found some iron scraps. Not useful here, but I think we can sell it at Howler's Dell for more. Do you think we can sell this for more, Millie? I think we can. I'm going to do it. We have no money left. I'm also looking for work now. She grins. I somehow doubt you're here to forage for me, love. Not that I have any room for another soul. Let me think. She runs her eyes over the shelves and the trophies, but it's the rocks surrounding the fireplace that catch her attention. The folks at Old Pagos are weirdly quiet. They were supposed to drop 2 wagons of rocks off at my place. Can you check on them? Just find out if they're fine. You mentioned the payment. It won't take much time. Sorry, it won't much work from a rider. You can get there and back in less than a day. Just ride west of here until you get to the crossroads. Then another one. Turn west again and you'll find the village. I'll give you, let's say, a dragon bone. You mentioned that's not much, but she weighs it off. A Roadwarden should get familiar with all the villages anyway, right? Just do this when you have a chance. I'll have more coins for you once you prove that you can be trusted with simpler tasks. Okay. I'll let you know if I learn anything. You've heard about bandits in the north. She makes an annoyed grimace. What can I tell you, dear? You know how it goes. Lost souls need a new path after an awfulness finds them. But the years go by, and it doesn't get any easier. One day they take a pile of firewood, another one some bread and clothes. After they start hurting folks, there's no way back, even if not all that cruel. You ask for some more, but she's reluctant to give you straightforward answers. You don't have to worry about Glaucia's band. They hunt, sometimes take this or that, scavenge after folks who get jumped by beasts, but she never tried to threaten my place. You're safe here. And why would they try to bother a Roadwarden? She may be right, some bandits are just desperate. I frown but bite my tongue. If Hovland sends soldiers here, they may face consequences for supporting the outlaws. No, she might be right. Sometimes bandits might just be desperate. Foggy grabs the dirty dishes and puts them in a nearby bucket. Questions about the peninsula? Will you do monastery here? Oh, okay. Alright, it's time for me to go. Charlemagne is enjoying some fresh grass. I could wash myself in the lake. Absolutely not. I was told to stay away from the lake. Approach the foragers. Once the man in black fur hears your steps, he nudges his companion and nods towards you. They put away the old noose traps they were trying to fix, proper for hares and small birds. The tall one spreads his arms, thundering his loud welcome. A Roadwarden, I guess we're going to see each other a lot. I'm Ilan, and the shorty here is Three. The man in black fur looks up, frowning. There's also the one-handed man you saw in the attic. Unlike the rest of the staff, he has an unkempt beard and worn clothes made of blue fabric, patched with scraps of flour sacks. He's looking down to examine a trap, but his shoulders are slumped, eyes absent. Ilan doesn't introduce him. Andalone, nice to meet you. Ilan smiles. What are you doing at Pelt of the North yet, friend? Oh, sorry, were you at Pelt of the North yet, friend? I just can't read anymore. He blushes. How is Dalit doing? Is that the one with yellow armour? She's well, seems to keep the whole crew together. That's her! A lively colour eye. Yellow. He smiles. But you catch a hint of envy in his voice. Better say hi to her for us. Her boss was looking for hard drinks and healing potions. I wish I could have helped her. He glanced at his companion who's currently observing a column of ants running alongside the palisade. They were offering good prices, and she was really good at dice, and told us about many monsters. Z adjusts his black coat. All traps won't fix themselves. What brings you to us? Ilan frowns at this interruption but says nothing. What's your plan? I could use some work. I turn toward the one without a hand. Do you know Chulia? The man gives you a surprised glance, but then looks down and crosses his arms, holding his hand under his shoulder. I'm a new man now. There's nothing that ties me to the army. He has the accent of a city folk, same as yours. He's the guy that ran away, right? I just remembered. You've crossed a great part of this land, greater than most. Have you seen anything unusual? He takes a deep breath. His voice is close to a whisper. There's fog in my soul. I was on the Eastern Road, hungry and sick, praying for the right to send its beasts on me and save me from the pains of living. I remember the touch of fur and the breath on my neck, the claws pinning me to the ground. I was waiting with my eyes closed. Then I woke up in the middle of the night, still feeling. I got back on my feet, walked until I reached the lights of this tavern. Without so much as a bruise, Foggy may have no faith in her heart, but the right used her kindness to give me a second chance. Ilan frowns at the man's words, and there's cautiousness in his voice. He may be crazy, but it's true he came here after midnight, raving. Maybe the monsters don't like his scent. So you forgot everything? He hides his stump in the palm of his hand and curls up. I've seen a dragon eating a tree, an ape that tore away the head of a monstrous cat, and a wolf without fur that was as quick as lightning. Now leave me alone, evil spirit. Let my shame rest. He's shaking. Let him be, Z grunts at you. Nothing wrong about man trying to forget. Ilan rubs his chin. A furless wolf friend? I've heard about one. Our tribefolk saw it in the heart of the woods. A nasty beast. Let's hope it won't find a mate for breeding. It charges at you like a runner and jumps right at your throat. He touches his neck. So even the hunters stay away from it. Too bad we've no crossbows. He raises his wooden club. Aye, better to avoid the deep woods without one. Okay. The hairless wolf. Neck ripper. Great, good notes. Caius seems to be too on edge to speak anymore. Okay. Do you have any work for me? Zvi nods and Ilan's voice gets louder. Glad to hear that. We're planning to do some bird catching. A hunt without killing. Maybe not today, but in 7 days. Maybe a bit later. What do you say? Why would you need my help with birds? Don't you just let them walk into the traps? Ilan glances at the cords used for the snares. These won't do. You want to catch a runner this big. He raises his muscular arm and stops it maybe a foot above his head. And bring it here alive. We want its meat for later. The man with one hand interrupts him. His voice is weak, but disdainful. Beasts ought to be dealt with, not tamed. Bonding with monsters brings only death. We'll bring full bellies in winter, squeaks Svi. This sounds really dangerous. What are you going to do with this? We'll tether it to the palisade for a day or two, then take it to the creeks. Our tribefolk have enough space to look after it through autumn. Maybe it'll drop a few eggs. Okay, is this a bird? Even if not, it's fresh food. Is this like a Dodrio or something? How much do you want to pay? I mean, it may be a scary trip, but it won't take that long, Ilan shrugs. Just show up here at noon or before it. We'll be back in a few hours. You'll get 5 dragons, 2 if the bird dies. That's a good price for one afternoon, aye? I can't leave my horse behind. Oh, I wouldn't worry about it, Ilan waves a hand. Just like his mother. The idiot will take care of it. The one-handed man starts to object, but a harsh "Shut up!" from Svi makes him sigh. His shoulders sag. Ilan goes on. He's a loony and would stumble over his own feet on a trip, but does what he needs to when he's told to, sorry. And you know what? He won't steal it. He hates animals. 7 days. Oh my god. 7 days. Hunt. What even is this place called? Oh, Foggy's Lake, right? Foggy Lake. Do I have a calendar somewhere telling me what the actual date is? It's day 3, so on day 10. And I have to be there before midday, right? Before midday. Okay. Fine, we'll do it. I'm a little bit concerned that this is going to just destroy the base and kill everyone involved, but I need my money. Ilan grins. Do so. We still need to prepare, and you better do so as well. But don't make us wait for long. Let's not test the bird's patience. Just come back one day before afternoon. Okay. I'll put it on day 9 then. We'll come the day before. I walk away. How long? 5 hours 30. Which way's the creek? He said to the east, right? Do we try and get to the creeks? Or do I go all the way back and try and make it to the White Marsh? I could also make it back to Howler's Dell from here, actually. Maybe that is the safest play. I'll go back to Howler's Dell. 1 hour till dusk, perfect. You approach the opening gate, then swiftly dismount. A guard approaches you ready to take your mount to a stable. Greetings. Roadwarden, what news do you bring? We gossip for a bit. The curious locals gather around, take part in the conversation. We've seen this before. Right, I want to go to the main square. You You wander through the village, you see a crying boy surrounded by 3 older girls. They clean his injured knee while stopping themselves from laughter. A couple of older people are gossiping with excitement while they grind grains with the millstones. Right, we approach the inn. It's getting darker but not much colder. More than a dozen locals are gathered at or by the tables, playing dice or other games, drinking, eating supper, or simply chatting. The innkeeper is standing behind his counter, filling mugs with beer or buttermilk, while his daughter is cleaning the tables with a wet cloth and carrying around a bucket of stream water. Vice is nowhere to be seen. The trader is packing his goods, though with no rush. He's talking with a man who's sewing sacks on a nearby stool. I want to talk to Akokios. I have goods to sell. Select an item you like to offer. Different traders are interested in different goods. They will purchase only some of the things you have to sell, and their offers may vary. Iron scraps. 7 rings? We can always use some iron, but these scraps are 1 rain away from getting trashed. See, this one's already rusty. You won't get more than 7 rings for that. Deal? Absolutely. We've made a profit. 2 dragon bone profit from wheeling and dealing. He gestures for you to gather your things. This junk doesn't interest me. We're looking... Okay, so the rest of the stuff he's not interested in. Completely fine. Oh, I'm being bothered by howlers. Anything to plug my ears? And you can just avoid them, I guess. With a raised eyebrow. He reaches for a yellow candle and plays with it in his long fingers. You know, they eat plants and they meat. Shouldn't he be too dangerous for a warden with a mount? Lend me your axe. He cuts off a few chunks of wax, removes the wick, and gives them to you. Here, roll these in your hands, warm them up, and make a shape you want. I got these for free? What a legend. Okay. It's getting dark. Okay, this is actually different. It's getting dark and the inn is loud and crowded. The innkeeper lights up the rush lights. The workers drink and the guards are preparing for the night watch. If it wasn't for the presence of the creek and the uncanny lack of beggars, this place would feel like Hofflin's marketplace. One of the tables is occupied by a dozen or so kids. None of them looks older than 12, and the youngest one, too dirty to resemble either a boy or a girl, is about 6. They are surrounded by their playthings, a mouflon on wheels, an elegant wooden sword, and a painted board covered with rocks. But they are bored and tired. Even though you only get a glimpse of them, the oldest girl notices your attention. She springs to her feet and approaches you with a few skips. She's already pretty tall, dressed in a worn, subdued tunic, so long that it looks like a sack. No, it'll be rude to ignore her. We're going to ask what she needs. She puts her hands together and puts on a grimace of playful misery. Master Roadwarden! Hearing such an antiquated salutation makes it difficult for you to hide your smirk. We're here! She points at her group. Bored, oh so bored! She puts the back of her hand on her forehead, letting out a deep sigh. Ah! Please, master, tell us a story or two, for each traveller sees with different eyes. The last few words sounded like an echo of an old tale. Fine, make room at the table. The children gather round and ask you for a minute for them to gather their friends and siblings. After a bit of chaos, there's 20 young souls sitting closely to one another, on benches, stools, and on the ground. The red-haired twins brought a blanket to lay down on. You have a shorter side of the table all to yourself. The older kids understand you're lost look in an instant. They start to hush each other, which causes an even greater amount of noise, but in the end, there are dozens of eyes staring at you with a mixture of boredom and anticipation. We can use our knowledge. I've read quite a few stories during my studies. I know rather a unique fairy tale. Let's do it. It's short and sweet, though at one point gets a bit cruel. The youngest kid covers their eyes, which doesn't block the hearing in any way. As you get to the end, the tension disappears. The older kids clap for a bit, keeping their dignity intact, while the young ones start to laugh and argue loudly about the best part of your tale. 2 girls start to wrestle, pretending to be characters that you just betrayed. Seeing this, the adults decide to intervene. You stand up and the children do the same to show their respect. The girl that previously talked with you thanks you for your time. It was my pleasure. Now I'll return to my tasks. Okay, it's 45 minutes before dusk. It's time to sleep. Do I want to sleep good again? I think I do. We're not saving much money right now. We're honestly just like living in luxury. But I think there's going to be a time soon coming where we're not going to be anymore. I see this as like the last, home of, not civilization, but the comfort, is what I'd say. The sounds of rain wake you up briefly. Before you return to sleep, you think about your plans. Riding in the mud is difficult. Shadowmane will have a rough time, especially on the unpaved grounds. It may be a good day to take a break at the inn. It's a calm, warm night. You just said it was raining. Or is this like a monsoon? Like a tropical monsoon? As your first sleep ends, you stretch out and prepare yourself for an active hour or two. It's time to take care of some things that must be done at least once every few days, though they're a bit more challenging than your nightly routine. It's time to check on my herbs and other ingredients. I get rid of the plants that fail to dry out, throw away anything that's rotten, and wash my jars before I fill them up again. Reasonable. Okay, you spend the night in peace in a clean bed with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning, you find a stool placed on your bed covered with fried bread, mushrooms, and gravy. We've had this meal before. It was delicious. The unusually loud child says, "Shadowmane's been brushed and watered!" And we nod and we run outside without noticing it. Face is still nowhere to be seen, and the innkeeper is carrying gruel. Okay, let me have a quick look at the map. Oh, I can't just yet. Let me just back out a second, because I want to see the map. What are you offering for services out of interest? Clearing paths. Half a day. I kind of want to, get up to things, but I don't have that much coin left. Anyway, I want to look at my map again. I just want to see if it is going to take longer to get back here. No, it's the same. Oh, no, it isn't. The bloody roads will slow you down. Not considerably, though, because I don't know, maybe it is. Wasn't it 4 hours back? Before? Okay, that's really cool. So, traveling is going to be a little bit awkward tomorrow. I am going to travel, though, because I would like to try and get to what I think is Old Pagos next. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, why not leave a like, comment, subscribe, everything helps me out. And I'll see you on the next part. Goodbye.